Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Radia, welcome to Consulting Leaders.
Good morning.
It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning indeed. Radia, let's jump straight into it. Tell us how you got into doing what you do now.
So I spent many years with Dale Carnegie training, and I knew that there's just, you have that feeling for probably 2 years prior, just knowing that there was something out there that was bigger and I wanted to impact people in a bigger way. So I started just thinking more about it. And I don't know if you felt it before. I think other people do too, when your intuition is telling you there's something kind of in your gut that's just saying you're meant for more. And back in May of this year, I took a little bit of time just to work with a branding company and work on what was my mission and what that was. I wanted to take time and not just execute without it being properly done. And about June 15th is when I launched the company. So it's actually called Énergie Consulting in French, and we're doing business as the Elite Unlock.
Oh, I love this, especially when it touches to my roots as well. So is the name because you wanted it to sound French? Do you help French clients? Like how come?
That's a great question. So, Énergie, I was always told I had super high energy in the classroom training. And so I thought I have to. I was coming up with a name and it just spoke to me. I said, that's going to be the name for it.
I love it. This is a very good reason to be. So tell us what you do and what problem you solve with the energy program, and most importantly, the Elite Unlock company. What problem are you solving?
So I am here to help business professionals, executives, salespeople, help them level up. And what I found in training for so many years was people have this level of burnout and they have all the skills and the abilities, but they just are held back by not managing their time or productivity issues. And so my goal is to help people understand and give them all the tools and resources to help them get to that next level. Because I truly believe, because it was something that happened to me myself, is that people can literally have it all. So those people that think like you have to have really great business and success in your world, but you can't have your health, you can have both of those. And so that's what I help leaders and salespeople try to do, and just be very effective in their leadership and their communication. But also looking at the person as a whole. How do they manage their stress? It's really a whole life integration. How they interact with their significant other, their children, right? And manage their energy. And that's a big thing for me, is how do people manage their energy so they show up in their meetings with the right energy, right? They sleep effectively, all of that. So it's really a whole person integration is the focus.
So I like that. Because I see myself in the type of people you would be helping.
Yeah.
What's the outcome? So you help business professionals, go to the next level, up level. For what? Why would they do that?
So I think we're all looking for, a lot of times we're chasing something, right? Whether it's the promotion, whether it's a title, whether it's more money. And I think really being able to help people understand, like, what are they really chasing? Are they chasing fulfillment? Is it happiness? What is it? And really understanding what their purpose is, what their values are. And so a lot of times, right, we look at company values, but we don't look at our own personal values. And so I truly believe if you make decisions, if you know what your values are that are core to you, you make decisions and you take the jobs and you work for the companies that align with your values, you have more of that peace, that calm, that passion, that purpose, and you're living with integrity. So that's a big part of it. That's a big part of it. And I've seen some results as far as clients that I've worked with, is really being able to understand that. So for example, someone I'm coaching now has family is one of the biggest values, right? So we look at how do we level up as a leader, but also care for our family, and also use those skills to treat our colleagues like family as well. I just had a woman someone else that I was coaching who literally told me that she had, because of taking care of herself, that was something I wanted her to desperately do, was just give a little bit of time for self-care instead of working and being in meetings. And she told me that she had lost 40 pounds in 3 months of working together. And that wasn't even the intention, right? It was just spend a little bit of time going outside for a walk and taking care of you and feeling more balanced and less stressed.
That is a very good why, in my opinion. Can you tell us a bit more about those ICPs? So business professionals, leaders, do you target a specific type of company, specific level in the company for the business professionals that you help? Like, who is it that you're helping specifically?
Yeah, so salespeople for sure, because that's my expertise and my background. And what I've had right now, most of the clients are managers and directors and some executives. And so those are the people that I'm typically after, and those are, I think, who might resonate with what I'm doing. And also what some of the companies, just because I have a long history of working with retail and working with CPG companies and pharma, those typically are ones. Grocery, those are typically companies that I'll work with, just because I have a lot of experience working with them. I kind of understand their world and the stress.
And that's going to be so important, right, in 2025, because, in 2026, we're recording in 2025, but this episode will be live in 2026. Personalization and being able to relate to the person that you're helping is, if it wasn't key so far, which I believe it was already, but more than ever, it's going to be the case in 2026. Definitely. So it's interesting because you're going to have different level, right, in the company's hierarchy: salespeople, manager, directors, executives, CPG, groceries, pharmas, which are in the end like different industries, right? Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a bit more about how you, as in you, Radia, market yourself, brand yourself, get the message in front of the right people, so that those salespeople, managers, directors, executives of CPG, groceries, pharma companies can find you once they become problem aware? And you know what? Like right here, right now, I'm going to make this question even more complex. Is everybody problem aware when you're trying to help them? Because I guess everybody wants to level up, but they don't even know that they won't be able to level up unless they do that one thing. How do you market your message and your branding? Let's start there.
That's such a great question. Such a great question, Guillaume. So I do think when I was working with this branding company, they were so phenomenal. I spent 2 days, full days with them, with the strategist, really focusing on what was the problem I was solving. And I think part of what you're saying too is so accurate. People don't know the problem that they're facing until they hear it. And one of this branding company's messaging is really to focus on solving the problem and speaking to that one person that you help, which is typically the person that you used to be, right? So I feel like I'm helping people because I used to be there. And so I'll give you an example, marketing things on LinkedIn. And, there was a day where I had a comment in one of the posts and it said, every time you post, it sounds like you're speaking directly to me, right? And that's what I want. I need to speak to that one person and that person that I can help. And I think the more that we do that as consultants, right, we're not trying to solve every single problem and try to help everyone, just really niching down to what is helpful for you. And so for me personally, I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked. I've been on a heavy LinkedIn user for, I think it's about 20 years actually, and heavy user, and become even more so since starting my business. Even prior, I was posting 3-4 times a week. And for me, that's where you build trust. And when I see consultants that are not doing that, I believe they're doing themselves a disservice. I haven't spent any marketing dollars. I haven't done any of that. It's just been purely LinkedIn. And to me, that's building relationships, connecting with the right people and supporting them and just adding value. That's really what it's been. It's been adding value. How can I help you? And I think the more that we do that, the more, just the laws of reciprocity, right? Things come back to us. And so it's just going out there and serving in the best way that you can.
I love this. And I obviously have some cheeky follow-up questions on that. So I'm putting myself in the shoes of, the B2B coaches and consultants listening to us right now, who will think, wow, but that's a lot. And we're also going to discuss your podcast, which is, adding all things to your plate. I don't have time for this, like posting 4 times a week, like, recording episodes, talking to potential customers. Are you kidding me? I don't have time for this. I'm heads down into delivery. So how do you strategize, execute, and find the time to actually build that content machine that helps you stay top of mind, stay visible, and avoid feast and famine cycles? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, that's such a great question. It's consistency, right? I think that is what we need to do. We need to show up, not show up posting 2 days a week and then disappearing for 3 weeks because you're on vacation, right? It takes the work, but we cannot, as consultants, cannot afford to not be present, right? That is a place where people can hear your voice. You showcase your authority and your ability to help people, right? Your opportunity to add value, to pull your audience, right? Yesterday, I added a poll just to find out what people wanted as far as content. I think I have an accurate perception based on my current clients, but I wanted to put a poll out there and understand a little bit better. And I was surprised. And so LinkedIn, no one has time to not be on there. And so you might think this is funny, right? It's the abundance mentality, because I was starting my business, not even selling anything. I hadn't even started the LLC yet. And I was so heavy posting on social media. It was the go-to because I knew it would pay off in dividends later, right? It's one of those things you don't really know until someone calls you, which I just had happen 2 weeks ago. And someone just said, oh my gosh, I was looking for a consultant and I saw your post that you started your own company, and I reached out on LinkedIn. So that's how it happened. I get those reach outs a lot, which are pretty amazing. It's a free marketing machine.
So, oh my God, there is so many things I want to double down on here. So starting with the very last thing that you said, it's free. Like, in what generation, what era of business did we ever have, platforms that will push our brand and our very person out there for free? Now, it isn't completely free because it takes time. If you don't want to spend your time, you probably need to spend your money. But like, you can have unlimited reach if you do it right, almost for free.
Yeah.
The thing I often say is, if you don't have, because some people will be like, okay, but it's okay. I just rely on referrals, like I do a good job. My clients recommend me to other potential clients, and I keep the lights on like this. And I'm like, that's great. And if that's how you want to run your business, and I'm putting like quotation marks here because I'm gonna get back to this in a second, then congratulations, you've won. Yeah. Now, if you rely 100% on referrals, and like you're by yourself, you don't have a business. You have a very high paying job. Again, if that's the goal, congratulations, you've won.
Yeah.
As soon as you want to grow the business, get inbound inquiries or even outbound, hire some people, then you need to have an acquisition channel that is not solely referrals, because the very day you're not gonna get a referral and you come out of a project, you don't have work. Yeah. So I love that this is the very first thing that you did, and it paid off, right? And it's probably not gonna, if you start now, it's probably not gonna pay off tomorrow, in a week, in a month. This takes months, if not years, to compound, but then it compounds and you have an acquisition channel.
Yes.
So really, really like that. How do you, tell me more about the problem awareness stage versus the solution aware stage? Because you posted that thing on LinkedIn because someone was in need of a consultant. They saw your post and they were like, I'm going to reach out.
Yeah.
But in your case, I guess I'm a sales manager or even a sales executive. Of course, I'm competitive, right? In a sense, that's why I'm in sales. But I don't know what I need to do to level up, nor even if I need to level up or what I need. So how do you, in your content, make people problem aware and then solution aware so that you can be the most effective in your marketing?
That's a great question. I think just tapping into the challenges that I've faced personally, because I know that there are people out there that are facing the same thing. And that's when you touch the right person. It's, hey, are you underperforming, right? If you're underperforming, okay, it's going to resonate with someone who thinks either I know I'm capable of much more, so I'm underperforming in that way, or I had a conversation with my leader and I'm not at where I need to be. And so just those stories, I think a combination of different content, right? Whether it's stories of where you failed and where you've succeeded, sharing, just being super authentic. I think that's a huge one. I think in this world of AI and everyone starting to figure out how to create content using ChatGPT, the reality is ChatGPT and scripts are never going to get to someone just popping on screen, doing a live like this. That will never be able to compete. And so I think true authenticity, sharing your weak spots. I was actually excited to do that, leaving a company and then starting on my own, that I could be myself. I could post that I was this, a picture of me from when I was 4 years old and painfully shy, and now being able to speak on a stage confidently. And so I think that's what people resonate with. People want to hear, they want to find out that, Guillaume was scared to start a business or scared to do this, right? And then he was able to do this, because I think people start to see themselves in you. And that authenticity, I think, goes so far, which is going back to the podcast start. That was actually the reason behind starting the podcast almost 2 years ago.
I mean, Radia, you're making my job harder, but I thank you for that, because that's the very point. Because there is another thing here I want to double down on, which is authenticity. And I think you've hit it on the nail perfectly, especially in 2026, right? Which is when this episode will come out and when people will listen to it. We genuinely believe that authenticity, transparency, and honesty will win in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly why I'm recording all my episodes live now, because anybody can claim anything on the internet nowadays. And with ChatGPT and Claude and whatever, you name it, whatever your favorite, AI LLM is, anybody can be saying anything on the internet nowadays. Anybody can be an expert. You're only gonna stand out if you not only have done the thing that you're talking about, if you're an actual expert, and if you're able to add that personal touch, but also the shortcomings, the weaknesses, the drawbacks. Being authentic is what's going to win in 2026, in my opinion. So you're doing it right.
You just gave me a great idea to start doing LinkedIn Lives now. I didn't even think of that.
Here we go. Please do so, because it's crazy. And people, I mean, we can share stats and discuss numbers after the recording, but it's crazy. That's the only thing I'm doing now. It's only live. I'm not writing anything anymore. I'm just doing lives, and that's, I mean, we can share the stats later on.
Wonderful.
But yeah, I recommend doing so.
I love that.
So that's your marketing approach. I love it. Obviously, I relate to it because I'm more or less doing the same thing.
Yeah.
How do you move from that to a sales conversation and an engagement, though? How do you go from problem awareness, solution awareness, sales conversation, letter of engagement, SOW, we rock and roll? And I'm going to make this question even harder for you, Radia, because you're flying through this interview. Who do you need to speak to? Who is the decision maker? And how do you reach those different people? Because if you're training and helping the salespeople, the sales manager, I'm suspecting they're not the ones making the decisions. This is going to be at the L&D, HR, executive level. So how do you move from everything we talked so far to an actual engagement?
Yeah, that's another great question. So it really, sometimes it's with L&D, sometimes it's with HR, sometimes it's relationships, introductions with other decision makers, CEOs, directors, VPs, right? And so it's really anyone that's open to having a conversation that, of course, also has a budget, right? We have to be realistic. And so just for me, it's really just uncovering sometimes the problem they're not quite aware of, or they think it's one problem, like what I would hear for. Oftentimes I hear, we have issues with our leaders, right? We have a leadership problem. And for me as a salesperson and a consultant, asking all the right questions is the power. You need to ask the right questions to really uncover what the problem actually is, because most times it is not a leadership problem. It is a stress management problem. It is a communication problem. There's so many other issues going on underlying. And so really just doing a great job of setting the time with the right person and uncovering if they have a problem or not. And sometimes they will have a conversation. There's no immediate need, right? I'm okay with that. I am not looking for a quick close all the time. I'm just building rapport, building a relationship. And they might need me a year from now. And they go, you know what? Radia asked really great questions. Maybe she can help me. And I'm also the first person to say, if I cannot help you, I'm not going to try to be all things to all people. I will probably refer you to someone I know and I trust that can help you. And so I think just that, again, that authenticity, not trying to sell everyone on everything that you have, and just really, really bringing in the decision makers, right? Making sure you have the right people in the conversation and asking that up front. I think a lot of times we as salespeople, anyone in their career, oftentimes won't even ask for the right people. They're talking to someone, and then there's other decision makers involved that need to be there, and knowing that right up front so that the sales cycle is not super, super long. But I think just being okay with that, just having those conversations authentically. If that answers.
Amen to that. No, it does. And I think you're giving me something else to pick up on here, which is urgency. And I think it's funny because we are between salespeople here, so we're going to be able to dig a little bit into that. I recently found out, sorry, actually when I started my masterminds a few months ago, that there is such a thing as the right time. I think doing everything you can to close the deal now, and I do understand it, right? And I used to do this as well as a salesperson, is actually only pulling the sales forward. Meaning it's probably a sale that was going to happen just further
Mhm.
down the road, but you managed to build enough urgency to get the person to take action now, which is sometimes, and I do believe, doing them a service, right? Like, hey, you have this problem. You told me that you're looking at solving this problem. The sooner you start, the sooner the pain is going to go away. So there is
Yeah.
such a thing as creating the right urgency at the right time. I also think that some people sometimes are just not ready, and they are going to move forward just at the time that they want and they pick. And I think we need to be comfortable with that. Tell
Absolutely.
me,
And oh, go ahead.
I was gonna jump on something else, so please go ahead if you have something to add.
I think it's a mindset of abundance. I think that's really what it is. In my sales career, I've always had this mindset of I shouldn't say I always had, because in the beginning years I did not. But later on, it was just there's enough out there for everyone. There's so much business to be had for everyone. You don't need to have that salesy, like ick approach of just trying to close someone quickly because you need the income. I think that's just the worst thing you can do. When people feel it and they sense it and it just feels gross. I think we can all have experienced that, or being on the receiving end of it too.
Definitely making my job harder. Yes, I couldn't agree more. And back to one of the things we were saying earlier, Radia, which is this abundance mindset, in my opinion, is only possible when you have an abundance, of leads and inquiries, which
Mm.
comes down to relying only on referrals and sometimes needing to close the deal versus having regularly people reaching out to you, requiring help, and having almost more demand that you can supply. Because then you get to pick your pricing, the person you work with, and you're also able to say, look, looks like it's not a right fit right now. Let's regroup in 6 months. But you know that the day after you have another sales conversation, the week after you have another sales conversation. I couldn't agree more with you on the abundance mindset, but you also need to create the environment that is allowing you to have this abundance mindset.
Yes.
Something
Yes.
else.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Radia. I'm gonna get back to all the things I want to, but priority to the conversation. So tell me, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think it's just also a shift. So I think of when I first started, was ready to execute starting the company in June. And
Mhm.
I spent probably a month straight of just giving free things. There was no one asking. Well, I had one person that asked me, and found out without me announcing it that I was on my own, and they reached out and I started coaching someone, but I didn't have the abundance. And so it was really switching my brain to say, this will come. People just need to know, they need to find out. You just need to keep doing what you've always done, which is giving and serving and helping. And even if that meant me taking someone's resume and sending it to someone else who needed a job, that's something I've always done for years. I'm not a recruiter, but when I know someone needs a job, I ask them, send me your resume and what companies are you looking for? And I try to help them out. It's just, I think that mindset of just knowing it will come, it will be there. And if you do the consistent, right, showing up consistently on LinkedIn, reaching out and serving, it will come. It will definitely come, which is hard. It's hard to have that mentality when leads are not coming in the beginning.
Amen to that. The thing I wanted to get back to, Radia, is getting in the right room at the right time. And here I'm interested into doubling down on something with you, because I think a lot of B2B coaches and consultants are faced with this situation, but you even more, since you're helping not only the executives, but also people in the hierarchy underneath them.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that you get into the right room at the right time with the HR departments, the leader of L&D when needed, the executive when needed, the financial decision maker? Like for your particular business, you, I guess, needs to be talking to multiple people before you get the green light, right?
Yeah.
So how do you do that? And especially when it's the right time for someone in that like food chain, but not someone else. How do you do that in your process?
So for me, it's always been just the touch points and the reaching out and the nurturing of the relationships too. And so that seems to always lend itself to introductions made. And so, for example, I was coaching someone and for me, it's all about going above and beyond. And I was doing things outside of the signed contract because I wanted to support and help this individual and this team. And that turned into referring out, saying this person's doing a great job, here, go talk to someone else, and turned out into training and more coaching for that department. And so for me and for consultants, I really think it's just that constant nurturing of relationships, because then when you're doing that, when they don't have a need, when that need comes up, you'll be the first person, you will be top of mind. And like I said before, I'm still, I'll still reach out to people. It's taken so much time, but reaching out to people that I've known from my past and just letting them know, hey, here's a free ebook and here's my contact information, right? And just nurturing that through consistently posting. And I believe that really takes you into the right rooms when there's a challenge. And sometimes people, again, think there's a problem and they reach out to you and they have a different problem, but it's up to us as consultants to find out what the true problem is and see if we can really help them. But I think that consistency is literally everything, the discipline of just showing up and nurturing relationships. I'll give you another example there. Something, and again, to me, it's about serving, and serving has always been the best thing for me and for my clients. And I reached out, as we know, we looked on LinkedIn and there's just layoffs everywhere, right? And so I spent a Sunday for 8 hours reaching out to past people I knew that were laid off and just sending them a stress management ebook and just checking in, letting them know I was here for them, right? It's just a touch point. I'm here, here's some value. And listen, 2 years, 3 years from now, they're going to remember that you did that, right? That you helped them out. And that's all I really, really, truly believe is so important, is adding value. Don't ask for anything until you've done that first.
And what I love about what you're saying, Radia, is this is unscalable. Like in an era of AI, automation, like everybody wants to do all that and are not getting any results. What you just said here was, I looked specifically at people who just lost their job and I led with value on a Sunday, right? For 8 hours. This is the type of things that not everybody is willing to do. And this is why not everybody wins. I think if you realize that you also need sometimes to do the unscalable, recording this podcast now, this is how you're going to get ahead, because everybody's looking at automation. Everybody's looking at AI. Doing the unscalable consistently, not for days, not for weeks, not for months, you know what comes after. Sometimes for years, this is how you get the results.
So true.
How do you farm, Radia? What I mean by that is, when I was a consultant myself, the partner who taught me everything I know about consulting was like, Guillaume, there are 2 types of consultants. There are the hunters and there are the farmers. And he was like, I'm a hunter. I love the smell of fresh blood in the morning. I love to go after new business. That's my jam. And it was like, but the partners making the most money, the ones growing the fastest, are the farmers. The ones who are able to take that initial engagement, over-deliver, and transform it into that multi-layered, multi-year project with involvement of other teams within the firm. Those are the ones who are the most successful. Yeah. So hunting is super important. How do you, and you're in sales, so you would know, how do you farm though? How do you retain? How do you transform one engagement into another one and multiple ones with the same clients?
And that's a wonderful question. I just had an epiphany with my executive coach about a week ago, and I am such a hunter. I've always been a hunter. I love it. I absolutely love cold calling. People think I'm crazy.
I'm not surprised.
And what he was telling me was, really, I need to work on shift as the founder to be more of a farmer. And I probably had like a funny face, just completely shocked, going, what? I don't need to cold call anymore. And that was just, I'm learning. I'm learning what the difference is, because what I said to him was, ever since I started, I don't have to cold reach out anymore. This is wild. And he's like, yeah, this is the shift that happens. But yeah, the farming, I think, is just really paying attention, right? Nurturing the relationships, continuing to do that, finding different creative ways to do it, right? It's the podcast. It's a newsletter on LinkedIn that I started. It's just finding different ways to do that, letting people know, hey, if Instagram or YouTube is your favorite platform, here's where I can add value. I think that's what helps. Another thing I started doing with my coaching clients was, I have a mastermind in a community, and I use it in the school platform. And my coaching clients go in there for the period that they're being coached. And so I feel like that also creates community, which I think was missing for some people. It's missing. So community it creates, and it creates nurturing. People are starting to see other things. They think about you. They might talk about you to the colleague and say, "I love this platform." And so I think it's just really for us as consultants is going literally above and beyond for people, going above and beyond, adding value. That's how you're just going to find other people are going to start to introduce you to others. That's what's already happened, which is pretty amazing. But it's not by saying, "Oh, you signed this SOW and you only allowed these many hours access to me. I'm not going to have another conversation with you." That's not how I operate. So I think just that going above and beyond is where those introductions happen, as people are thinking about you. But again, going back to LinkedIn and posting, it's doing the newsletter every Tuesday, whether you feel like it or not. I do it every Tuesday. I do the podcast twice a month. And so it's just consistency. That's king.
I love that. I love that I asked you about farming and you told me about hunting. But hey, I'm all for it because, I'm probably more of a hunter myself. But luckily I partnered with an amazing, amazing farmer. But no, that does make a lot of sense. And we are going to talk about school off record as well. But I love what you're doing there. Okay, a bit of a curveball for you, Radia. What's your biggest challenge right now? What's the thing that, you still have to crack, and that that if you crack that nut, you're going to take the whole business to the next level? What's the challenge that you're working on right now?
I think like any business professional, leader, owner, consultant is always delegation, right? And so I'm getting much better at it. I hired a part-time admin. I did that pretty quickly for a new business. I did about 2 months ago. And what I'm finding is I may either need to bring that person to full-time or hire another one because I'm so much in the weeds. And so I feel like, yesterday I probably wasn't the best use of my time, but I went back into my LinkedIn and I updated every single newsletter header to match my branding. And I'm thinking to myself, this was probably not the best use of 5 hours of my time. But I think we all fall into that trap. It's like, it's a Sunday, but those 5 hours I should have spent writing 6 or 7 newsletters instead. That would have been better. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge for me because I want to do so much. I want to impact so much, but it's only me. So I'm designing the content. I'm for training, right? I'm the one setting up the coaching calls, but I do have an awesome admin and project administrator. She's doing a lot of that back end stuff. And so I trust her. She's amazing. And so just finding more of that to be able to do what I do best, because I don't love the details. That's not my favorite thing. I want to be out there selling, consulting, training, and helping people. That's what my skill set is. I know where my weaknesses are. Very aware of them.
I love that. No, and that's so back to one of the very first point we made on this show, right? If you're looking at growing your podcast, your business, which you're clearly doing, you need to be able to delegate. You need to be able to, hand over tasks that are not as value add as your time is. But I think you need to, back to your thing on like spending 5 hours on headers. I think we need to go through that in order to be able to say, okay, I know how to do it. I realize how that's not worth my time. And I'm saying this not only to you, right, Radia, but for anybody listening to us right now, to then be like, okay, time to delegate. But then, as maybe the salesperson in me, take action. Go ahead. Put that, job posts, interview people, recruit. It's better to take a decision without having all the information and learn from potential mistakes that are going to happen further down the road than looking for perfect and at the end of the day never doing it. So hire someone, find out that they weren't the perfect fit. Now you know what to avoid. You don't know what you're looking for yet, but you know what to avoid. Do that second hire, still not perfect, and then you're gonna hire someone who's gonna be like, oh, this is what a good admin full-time looks like. Cool. Now I'm checking that box. Radia, this was an absolute masterclass. Thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders. If people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
Definitely. So LinkedIn, of course, that's number one. I follow a newsletter. I try to add as much value there as I possibly can. My website's getting a little bit reworked right now, but it's radiacarr.com. Instagram, you can find me under my first and last name, YouTube videos and all the podcasts and Spotify. So I don't think there's many other Radia Carrs. So if you Google me, you'll find me wherever platform is helpful.
We'll put all the links in the descriptions. And I can say one thing for sure. We are connected now, Radia, on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
See
you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time. How was that, Radia?